All right, we're going to talk about dispensaries and how to streamline your operations. So next, we're going to hear from Andrea Unsworth, the operations manager for People's Remedy. After publishing numerous pieces about the cannabis industry, Andrea started a delivery-only dispensary in 2014 with her father called Stash Twist. Between 2015 and 2018, she was the co-chair of the Bay Area chapter of Women Grow, a co-founder of Supernova Women, and launched her own cannabis consulting firm called Tulip and Oak, where she secured over 18 licenses for clients in California. She's currently the general manager of operations for People's Remedy, with 4 retail locations in operation and 2 in construction opening in 2021. Welcome, Andrea. So nice to have you here. Next, I'm happy to introduce Yvonne De La Rosa Green, the owner of 99 High Tide. Yvonne is an award-winning, internationally recognized actress, activist, and entrepreneur. She's the CEO of 99 High Tide Collective and is recognized as a pioneer in revolutionizing and elevating the cannabis dispensary model to a higher level by creating the world's first high-end dispensary and the world's first hybrid dispensary and art gallery. Welcome, Yvonne. Next, we have Crystal Milkand, the head of retail at Cookies. Crystal is blitz scaling their cookies retail footprint across California. She's a Fulbright scholar and a Google alum. With more than 15 years of large-scale business and retail transformation experience, Crystal is obsessed with results, but she knows that growth isn't just about the numbers. She leads the retail team at Cookies to design customer experiences that embody the Cookies lifestyle, brand values, and culture that Berner and Jai started in a San Francisco garage years ago. Crystal collaborates powerfully with their founders, customers, and communities to make a massive social impact and expand their global footprint. Welcome, Crystal. We're so happy to have you here. And finally, this conversation will be moderated by Vincent Ning, the CEO and co-founder of Nabis Distribution, which is one of the leading third-party distributors of cannabis products in California, shipping more than $250 million of top-tier products a year to retailers across California. Excuse me. Over the last several years, Vincent has helped launch and scale more than 100 top-tier brands in the state. He is an expert in building B2B enterprise software companies and brings his experience to help scale the cannabis industry operationally and compliantly. Vince currently holds a position as a board director of the Cannabis Distribution Association to help shape regulations for the betterment of the supply chain. Vince was part of Y Combinator and is expanding to become the largest national distributor of cannabis products. His last company, Scaffold, also went through Y Combinator and was eventually bought by Amazon. So that's our lineup of all-star panelists. Vince, I'll hand it over to you. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Thanks, Aria. I'm really excited to be here with you all. I would love to ask you guys just a personal question around, how you each got started in the cannabis retail space, or just, your story and how you got into cannabis in general. What are your goals, and what led you to your positions today? I guess we can start with Andrea.
Good afternoon. Thanks for that question. I won't reiterate everything what was in the bio, but I've always felt that retail, for me personally, was where it was at. That's how I got into delivery. I was based in Oakland, and I remember, going to try and open a storefront and try to pay my taxes for my delivery service the first time. And they were like, "We can't accept this money. This is cannabis money." And I was like, "But wait, there's all these other retailers that are giving you their money." And they were like, "Well, you have to have a permit." And I said, "Well, then I want a permit." So, that was like 2013, 2014. So here we are now in a very different landscape. But for me personally, I've always enjoyed kind of that collection of meeting cultivators, meeting manufacturers, and kind of being a centralized hub to get products out to the customer. And also just the one-on-one relationships that you build, especially, those of us who were pre-Prop 64, running your delivery service, you knew everyone by name, you knew their sleeping habits, you knew what they liked and didn't like, and who preferred sativa over what. And I miss that a lot, obviously being, in a larger area, it's very different now, but that was what drove me to get into this from the beginning. And so that's the part that I enjoy the most. And I feel like retail encompasses all of that still to this day. It's where you see the people.
Awesome. Crystal?
Yeah. So for me, kind of grew up in tech, always had cannabis as part of my personal life, and something that I feel like was something that brought me together with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, kind of everywhere I would go. Spent 10 years in consulting, working on kind of large scale retail transformations across the US and Mexico, Brazil, and the Philippines. So I was doing a lot of international global work around that. I really loved what I was doing. And about 2 years ago, Parker, who's the president of Cookies, came to our consulting firm to talk about, how we could take a brand like Cookies and think about it as more than a product and a brand, but convert it into kind of like a real retail concept and design that would be able to fully embody everything that Cookies was, which was no easy feat because it was a lot of things to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of set off on that discovery path on that project, and about 6 weeks in was like, I'm loving every second of this, and I've never been so happy to have a client ask me to kind of join in on the ride. So been here the last 2 years, and feel very blessed to be here every day.
Awesome. And I think Yvonne is not here yet, but that sounds like you both have a very, you have eclectic experiences brought into the cannabis industry, and you have a personal passion for the space and the plant itself. And you've been around the block, working in different sectors of the industry and the supply chain. And, fast forward to today, the industry has come quite a long way. I think we can agree with that. But it still has a long way to go. What are your individual goals for 2020 for you and your companies? Feel free to just jump in.
I think, that last comment from the last panel, which is, all of the obstacles that we're seeing when we talk about the big guys, et cetera, we, quote unquote, ain't seen nothing yet. So I feel like, not only am I super thankful and blessed to even have come this far, because even this has been challenge after challenge after challenge, but I know that there are more coming. So I feel like we're still in grind mode, and get your allies, keep each other strong. I feel like, we're trying to lock down as many retail locations as quickly as we can, which, to be honest, if I was in another industry and if it were different, or if it were just different circumstances, I probably we wouldn't be growing this fast. I think we've had to grow this fast out of necessity, to be able to, we see a city open up and we're like, well, we got to go for it, because you don't know when they'll open up again. You just don't know. But what I do know is, again, there will be even bigger players coming in with the billions. So We're just trying to get what we can now, in a sense. And so 2020, while it's had its challenges, it's definitely opened a lot of opportunities for our industry. If you're got that hustle spirit, which we all do, that's why we're here. And so being able to see the opportunities that this year has brought, I think, has been a blessing to make something out of a big nothing, that 2020 is offering us on the face of it. So that's my goal, is to really continue to find the diamonds in the rough, continue to find the gems, continue to build together with as many people as possible, because it's only going to get scarier, I think, in 2020, as scary as it is. I always like to think that while it can get better, it's only going to be through hard work and through, continuing to come together and fight obstacles. It's making us stronger, but it's also giving us a lot of ways to be creative, and so one of the things that I've really enjoyed in 2020, for better or worse, is that delivery has kicked up quite a bit, as folks are not, coming into the walk-in dispensaries. And that's where I started. So it's a very comfortable place for me to be and to offer delivery, but also to give access to the people that need it. Now, those people that has expanded, right? I'm sitting here, I'm a single mom with my kids in the back, hoping they don't bust in any minute. So I know what it's like to want to go and get a joint, but you got a 7 and 8 year old with you here. So continuing to be creative and go back to our roots, which was delivery, to be honest, in terms of retail. I mean, delivery is always, quote unquote, the weed man. I was nothing but delivery. So I'm really excited in that sense, to take advantage of those opportunities as they come up.
Great. Crystal, any thoughts?
Yeah, so much. And I can't agree with Andrea more, that I think, kind of coming out of doing a lot of consulting work across a lot of different industries, there's kind of like the people, process, tools, formulas, and the like know-how and capabilities that you can always talk to and apply across all industries in the same way. And I think, cannabis, it is all about grit. It is all about heart. It is all about like how many flaming hoops you're going to jump through in any given day to try to like keep your retail operations going, open the next store. Like it's never ending. And I've been pregnant this year too, so I feel you on this front. It is like, we are drinking from the end of a fire hose every day. But at the same time, it's incredibly energizing for us. 2019 was all about, how do we bring what Cookies is into, a brick and mortar home that our customers like can come visit us in and see us in and share product with us in, and we can talk about, what we like and all of our personal experiences, and like really have, that physical manifestation of the heart that went into everything that has been Cookies for the last decade. And we talked about it a lot last year that we were building the plane while we were flying it, right? So it's like, we need like, where's the steering wheel and where's the engine, and putting it all together as it was going. This year, I feel like we have planes. we need to keep making them better and keep renovating, but they're taking off and landing, and we're starting to get our groove. So in terms of growth goals this year, it was really about execution of that. And just like Andrea said, it's like, our customers are wanting us to be in so many places at once. And so we have to really get good at opening stores. So we were at three stores last year around this time. We're getting ready to open our 23rd in a couple weeks. So it's been an exciting year and kind of, growth beyond what we would have expected considering the challenges that we faced in 2020.
Awesome. Yeah, no, the growth and number of stores that you guys have is incredible. And personally, I know Parker as well, and we used to work closely together. And he mentioned that you guys were trying to launch over 20 different stores within the state by the end of the year, which is incredible. And, Andrea, you mentioned that in 2020, you see this year, despite all the civil unrest and COVID-19, you see this year as an opportunity. And I couldn't agree more with that. And with that opportunity, how have your businesses changed? Just given the shelter in place orders, you mentioned that customer centricity is such a focus of each of your businesses. How do you continue to adapt your operations and your sort of sales strategy, customer experience to really fit this sort of new normal?
Yeah. Well, outside of, we did see an increase in sales, immediately in March, which was a blessing. I'm super grateful for that. We've been able to not only not lay anyone off, but we, have been hiring this whole time, and we're actually able to give bonuses to our sales staff this year, which I was really proud of, on June 30th, to be able to hand those out to every single bud tender, every single, salesperson in our organization. Super thankful for that, especially in these times, to be able to go above and beyond for the folks that work for us. And I think fundamentally, that this year has shown, I've known it, but I think it has shown everyone and reiterated how important you are. No better than the people that you have surrounded yourself with. Your employees, nothing else matters. Weed can kind of sell itself. We've always known that, right? As long as your dispensary is open and you're not really doing a really crazy job and treating people crazy, if you've got good stuff, it can kind of sell itself. I've always believed that. What matters and what's going to keep them coming back to you and what's going to keep, your customer base loyal, obviously, is that experience and that interaction that they have. But also, even more than just the consumer, your bud tenders are only going to be as happy as you treat them and as important as you make them feel. So coming from an operation where, we were always the CEO, the CFO, we did everything under the sun, right? Pre-64 days. The downside to that is you can get, overbooked and everything else and run out of energy. But the upside to that is that you are putting passion into every single corner of your organization. If you were the CEO and you were the owner and running it, every single part, from ordering the product, to making sure the bills got paid, that passion, you knew that it was yours. This was your baby. And so I feel like if you are lucky enough and fortunate enough to have store managers who share a level of passion that's even close to that, you are winning. Because, out of all the stores that we have on any given day, my lowest performing store is always the one where the managers are not, up to par or are the best, period.
Not the people.
The people. We sell the same products pretty much across all four. We've got the same pricing, they're in different locations, et cetera. But what matters on that up and down is who my manager was and how much they cared about the job that they're doing. Everything from, hiring enough people and staffing it correctly so that people aren't waiting in line and all of those small details to managing your inventory, right? And if they don't care to a level with a level of passion that's above and beyond just having a 9 to 5 and going home and turning the phone off and not caring anymore,
right?
Then that's going to be the ceiling of your organization and of your store. It's going to be just like that. It's going to run like a 9 to 5 shop, which is okay, but it's not going to get you that extra, that passion and what you need to be able to grow and to really do all the extra things that we are forced to have to do in this industry to survive and compete. So I think 2020 has just reiterated the importance of the people that you surround yourself with and that you hire and that you take on as business partners, or even, the owners of the products that you bring on board, and how we're supporting each other because we work for them just like they work for us.
Right.
We want to be on your Instagram just like you want us on yours, and vice versa. And all those relationships are important. Right.
Makes sense. I think, oftentimes in strife, you get closer to the people around you as well. And as long as you share the same vision and that same goal, you're going to get through it and you'll come out on the other end stronger. Crystal, any thoughts on, how you've changed your business and cookies? You guys clearly have like a different model with how you expand so fast, with working with, individual retailers across the state. How do you guarantee that consistency of quality and experience for your customers during this time?
During this time, it hasn't been easy. And for us too, it was kind of a similar thing in March when we realized how many things we're going to have to change about the way we were doing business and the customer journey that we had envisioned. There were definitely some nerves around how that was going to happen. And it tied directly to what Andrea is speaking about. Like, everyone who works at a cookies store is like, they're going to work nights, they're going to come in early, they're going to work weekends, they're going to work holidays, they can't wait to work events. So these are all individuals who are, wake up incredibly passionate about the product that they're selling every day. And what made, I started losing sleep early in the year about the idea of like, these are people who, a retail journey that was designed around human interaction around cannabis.
Right.
And what are we going to do? Because we have to now limit that, or we have to do it very, very safely. And so things that we had to do around, order ahead, curbside pickup, delivery, making all of our visual display only. You can't like interact with the product in the way that we had hoped that you'd be able to interact with the product was scary. And I think what we found is like, again, in those challenges are opportunities. So, we have been able to continue to allow for the human interaction around a product while at the same time doing it incredibly safely by doing things like staggering shifts, encouraging those people who know exactly what they want to order ahead so that the individuals who want more of that human interaction and human touch have a very safe, socially distant place in order to do that. I think it's helped our transaction time. We're getting better at managing customer flow across our dispensaries, in terms of doing that across all stores consistently in the same way. Like that is, a lot of work. And we have a lot of incredible people. Again, it kind of always comes back to, our district managers who are in the stores all the time, continuing to coach our general managers on how to run that flow in like a COVID-19 safe environment, continue to make sure we have human interactions. And then also, one of the things that this kind of escalated for us is kind of like digitally, how do we connect with our customers as well as build that in-store experience. So we've been working on that pretty hard too.
That makes sense. If you had to pick one investment that you made into, Cookies store to help succeed this year, that made the biggest positive impact for you, what would that be? Would it be the people, some sort of system or technology? Curious to hear your answers.
Yeah, I'm happy to go. So even though we can't use them as designed for us, sure. Because we're a genetics company, at the end of the day, it all comes down to flower. So we spent a lot of time kind of developing these proprietary flower jars. And so even though they can't, be used in the exact same way that we had in mind when we designed them for bud tender customer interaction. They're still kind of like a beautiful visual way to experience our product in our store, and kind of fundamental to what we are as cookies. So at the end of the day, it's still that.
Makes sense. Andrea, is there one thing that made a huge impact for your business in a positive way this year?
Being a partner with Meadow.
Awesome.
I know it's, but truthfully, Meadow was the only organization really that like sent out that whole, safety and sanitation guide, which is like, we're all thinking about it and we're all trying to do the things, but to just have something that was kind of official come out so that we could check ourselves against it and be like, yep, we're doing that. Oh no, I forgot about that. Right. That was super helpful. And just that feeling of like, okay, you're not alone. Like there's other dispensaries. And even though it's 2020 and we don't have events and we're super siloed, I just have to say, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, like, I just really appreciate Meadow being consistently, having a space for us to either be together, even if it's digital, whatever it is, and just helping me, as the operations manager, sleep at night. Meadow, you guys make me look good, I have to say, because I came in with that little thing and I was like, hey, operations manager is on it, wink, wink. Like, this is all a little bit of cheating, but it was really appreciative and appreciated. And we were able to, really go back to our local jurisdictions, so our counties and our cities, when we were making arguments on why we should stay open as an essential business. And I literally had that with me and was like, we're doing things, we're self-regulating. You didn't even tell us to do all these things. So, that's kind of why we were able to stay open. I'm not trying to put 50 on 100, but it was, that's why, because we had the fundamentals there and we were showing that we were taking care of our customers and we had procedures in place in case something did happen, or, we were trying to prevent it to happen, but if it did, we had procedures in place. So I had to say that was super helpful, even just that little stack of papers.
Nice. I saw you turn your video on. You want to say a few words there?
No, I'm just like, yeah. I mean, it just brings us so much joy that you're happy. That's like our thing. It's like for our partners, our customers, and everyone's happy. Like we've built our model on just, we're not successful unless our partners are successful. So
right.
Yeah. And we had to adapt quick. So
that's always how it feels, Dave. I've got to say, that's how it feels, is that, you're not running your own retail shop, but you're making sure that we're running them well, because you're only as good as we are, and being able to pay our bills and all that. So, we appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like for you both, it's the product and the partners that help support the ecosystem around you that's helped you get through 2020 so far. I think it makes a lot of sense. And likewise for us too, as a distributor, we alone are not a business. We can't survive without our brand partners nor our retail partners. So, we're very thankful for everyone still pushing through every single day to keep the supply chain alive. So, shifting the focus more towards customers here for you, what are the can you share some of the marketing channels that have been very successful for you during this time? Whether it be, Instagram marketing or in-store, pseudo in-store demos, if that's even still possible. Curious to hear how you've shifted your marketing strategies lately to reach your customers.
I probably have the easiest answer, because I'll go first, because it's going to be short and sweet. We haven't. That's probably our weakest spot. We use Instagram for sure. All of our stores try to have their own individual personality. They're in different places. It's something that I want to work on as one of my next big goals, to be honest. This year, there's just been too many things added to the list, and the marketing has, worked for itself. Thank goodness. Like we use the Instagram and all the traditional ones. I'm sure Crystal has a much better answer than I do, but that's probably one of the things that we will be working on come 2021, is how to get someone in-house to really take care of that and take over.
I'll say we still find like Instagram, Twitter to be our fastest way to reach as many customers as possible 100% of the time, especially with the collabs that we do.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the marketing effort that we do, and also because of the way you can show the product, interact with the product, and we can get burner involved and we can get dye involved. Mm-hmm. It's still for us we're like pretty digitally native as it relates to the social media aspect of of marketing. And honestly, you know, because sales are high, one of the things that I worry about is, you know, when sales are growing and all kind of the normal tools in the tool belt appear to be working, sometimes it's hard to get individuals to invest in additional marketing capabilities. So that's something that we talk about a lot is, you know, how do we continue to push the envelope as it relates to marketing, push the envelope as it relates to digital touch points in a time where you know, sales are going up. And so it's harder to convince people, partners, operators to make those investments with us.
That makes sense. And so,
sorry, I had to go grab my.
Oh, your cookie bottle.
Yes, I love it.
Very nice.
It's got a dent in it and everything. I'm still like, you know, marketing it's working.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you track, you know, your success? Are there metrics that you track ROI for different marketing channels, or is it just the more sales, the better, something's working and we'll just keep throwing dollars that way?
We do a combination. So, you know, when we're dropping a product, we'll definitely kind of look at, you know, what are the product sales, you know, with multiple stores that are open. We have nice little marketing laboratories where we can test how a drop resonates, try different ways of doing it, see if that gets more engagement, results in faster sales velocity on, you know, across California. Now we'll be able to start to do the same thing across multiple states. But yeah, product sales, and then also, you know, number of customers, social impressions, engagement, you know, growth on number of customers month over month, all that fun marketing stuff.
Makes sense. And Andrea, I guess, you know, you've run a delivery business and you help with brick and mortar retail as well. Like, how do the marketing strategies differ in both those directions, or do they not?
Yeah, in some ways you're appealing to a different market a lot of times in the delivery and the storefront, a different type of customer. I wanted to just address, I think that's Ramon's question. How do we use these resources and knowledge to help social equity brands understand and build their marketing channels? Because I do think it's super important. I just put a presentation together, and I listed every social equity brand that we carry. We are carrying 14 brands right now. Just trying to put that little presentation together. Of those 14, 4 of them did not have websites, so I wasn't able to, you know, go and pull anything from their website. 3 of them, I couldn't get logos from them. You know, I had reached out. I went to their Instagram. I had to be accepted onto their page because it was private. One of them, I still haven't heard back. So I just didn't have a way, you know, even though I carry their products, I didn't have a way even myself to really pull in and get all the things that I needed to market them myself. So I do want to stress the importance of that there's so many free, I mean, Instagram, obviously, you know, being probably the largest way to get out there and use that as a resource, but having someone, you know, get you a nice website, even, I mean, I think those are just 2 basic things that if you're not doing and not utilizing, you have to. So, you know, that's just my real time, you know, experience right now to make that it is important, because I'm trying to market on your behalf and I can't, you know, get all the things I need to do that. So you know, we're not that strong in it, like I said from the beginning, but, you know, we've got to be able to check a lot of those boxes and help each other, you know, pass down knowledge. If you've got a really great website designer, people are looking for work right now, man. How cool would it be to work on a cannabis brand? And if that's the money that you've got to scrape up, I mean, there are certain things that we've just got to do, and we're doing ourselves a disservice, you know, by not checking those fundamentals, I would say.
Right. Makes sense. If there was one marketing channel that isn't available in the cannabis industry right now that you wish you had, what would it be?
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, yeah, I would love to see a cannabis commercial, like an actual advertisement. I'm just so afraid of how bad and wrong it could go.
Yeah, totally.
And the moms are just going to be going like, what is this? So, you know, we're not quite there yet. But yeah, we're gonna get more creative. It's not my forte. I don't know how, you know, advertising on, like, you know, the YouTubes and all of those outlets. I don't even know how to dive into that and get. I'm assuming there's just a big X-nay on cannabis on all of those. But yeah, anywhere where there's mass markets of people, that's where we want to advertise.
Makes sense.
So yeah, we have to be responsible as well and make sure that we do it right. I know everyone on this call and in our immediate community would do so, but I'm also very afraid of those who, you know, I've seen done poorly, and it just looks bad on all of us. And we're in such a sticky situation of having to portray, we have to go ultra professional. And anytime, there's a little too much TNA, it's like, oh, it's just, this is what all these unfortunately, we have to go above and beyond every single time right now. And it's hard, right. It's a struggle, but it's our responsibility, that there's only so much that we can do to make them turn our way. Sometimes we do have to be a little bit more conservative than we like to be, unfortunately, just to try and meet in the middle. So advertising and marketing, definitely a tricky one, but I see a lot of growth and potential with that.
Makes sense. Crystal, any wishes on your side?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I go back and forth, right? It's like you have these moments where you crave traditional advertising and marketing channels. At the same time, you're like, it's not going to crush our spirit. There's right. something kind of great about like the underground media that, especially Burner has created for himself, and like the power of the power of collaboration as it relates to music and clothing. And so there's been other ways that we've just approached it that I think had traditional marketing capabilities been at our fingertips the entire time, maybe wouldn't have happened, that are part of kind of like the magic of what we want to be bringing to more people, across the world. So, yeah, that's kind of our take on it. It's going to keep us creative and keep us on our toes.
Awesome. And sort of flipping the conversation on its head around, what are some of the most creative ways or effective ways that brands and other distributors have adapted to continue building rapport with you during this time? What are the sort of key to mutual successful relationships in your perspective?
We've had some very practical things happen. Some of our brands have given us things like, Steezy will bring in a refrigerator for us to put our concentrates in. I mean, no brainer. We're going to use it. It's free advertising and It's got great concentrate in it. So, for them, it's the cost of a freezer, but it's part of their marketing budget, and it's working really well in our retail shop. People come in and they see that big, Steezy lights, and they're like, I want to try that, because they've clearly put enough level of detail and care to have a refrigerator for their product. Not everyone can do that, but at the same time, maybe that is, one creative way to, take a fridge that you find and outfit it and put it in one retail shop, and you just start there. We've done a lot of things, maybe not so much now, but we definitely have done, partnered with, yoga classes quite a bit. That's been, traditionally, I think, yoga and cannabis always have gone really well together. So brands that have donated the cannabis for that's always done really well. Sorry, I'm trying to think of anything this particular year. Yeah, everyone's trying to keep their head above water quite a bit, to be honest. But yeah, those are a few things, just the displays in the store that folks have dropped off. We don't charge for that. We've got plenty of white wall space. So we take anything from any customer. If you've got a really nice poster and you've done some really nice artwork, we'll put it up. It only benefits us, and it definitely benefits the brand. So we're always open to putting up anything in our store. We don't charge for shelf space or anything like that. But even more so than shelf space, there's wall space. There's, there's ceiling space. Get creative. We don't care.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. Yeah, bring it.
Put a doormat if you want. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, how about the cookie stores?
Yeah, it's a little bit different for us, because we have our own brand of products, and obviously we like to highlight our own family of brands and the in-store experience. But for us, like, it's all about the collab, right? So if you have an awesome idea, and it's really creative, like, come to us with that. We love to collab and like take everything we're doing and everything our partners are doing and just take it up like another step or 10 steps, whatever it is. So all about the collab.
Gotcha. And has like in-store demos, gone less frequent just given COVID, and also, less walk-ins, more curbside pickups. And that used to be, talking to our brands, one of the most effective ways to reach their customers. And so, how has that changed recently with your partnership with brands to really reach your customers?
Yeah, that has definitely changed. It's gone more digital. Now, I will say, being out in the area that I'm in the Central Valley, it's a different market. We have not really seen a change in people in terms of walk-ins. Everyone's still coming in. We've got plenty of, not necessarily no maskers, but we've got plenty of more conservative base of people that, you know, aren't really feeling the whole COVID restriction thing. They do, you know, they're forced to comply when they come in. Of course, they have no problem with it. But I think in terms of the mindset out here, out in Central Valley, that hasn't really changed per se. So we still get plenty of folks who want to come in and interact and talk, etc. In terms of the demos and the brand partnering, you know, it's kind of like with the restaurants that I've seen. You know, I was in Calistoga, and it was like every restaurant that didn't have a patio was shut down, or there was a for lease, you know, sign, because if you couldn't adapt and have people eating outside, you're out of business. It's impossible. So we're trying to be creative and try to think of ways that we can expand into maybe right outside of our building, or you know, doing some other things with folks. We've had more taco trucks and things like that coming, and trying to create kind of a semi event space, even though people are still distanced, but you can go up and order your taco and maybe, you know, wave at someone over there and in the parking lot. But it's a huge challenge. I miss our events. I miss, you know, being social. It's the biggest loss, I think, for us this year as a community, is just being able to come together. And
educate people, even if that's the very least of what it accomplishes. Yeah.
I will say though, products like these, the dog walkers, little individual joints, having a little glass jar of these around where you can just like, hey buddy, I'm going to smoke, you're going to smoke, because we're not sharing anymore, you know, like we used to. So there's like a new way to share, which is to have something for everybody. Again, we're just trying to be creative with how the circumstances have what's been lent to us. So just keep being creative, everyone. Yeah. Interesting.
And, you know, clearly sales have increased for all of your stores. I mean, for the industry as a whole, but, you know, double clicking into that, do you see any shifts in product trends at all from your stores? Because I imagine part of the education process is to teach people about new product categories, new product types, new strains, and different effects. Nowadays, do people just sort of stick to their guns and double down on what they know, or are they still trying out new products and new SKUs?
I would say they definitely. Sorry, Crystal, go ahead. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go for it.
I think people definitely have more time on their hands to sit and explore and read and figure out things that work for them. The unfortunate side, obviously, our CBD sales have skyrocketed. I would say folks are realizing like, oh man, my anxiety, my PTSD, like what is going on? I can't sleep. I think that's the biggest thing that we've heard people coming and say is just like, I don't know what's going on right now and I can't sleep. What do you have for that? So we're trying to make sure our education of our bud tenders is, you know, still on point with a lot of that. It's still about healthcare at the end of the day and taking care of ourselves. So even though it's recreational, we've kind of shifted back to a medicinal heavy aspect of it in a way that people are really, really, really trying to get their mental health in order with everything that's going on. It's really hard to cope. So we're trying to change our products to fit that. Like I said, having the dog walkers and the smaller joints that are also really nice for folks that are new to cannabis. You know, we can be like, hey, you know, take these small, you know, instead of overwhelming them with kind of the bigger, you know, 2.5 gram blunts that they may not be ready for. And then also I think we've continued to see people more willing to take different ways. Honestly, I think it's a great opportunity for our for products, because people are coming in more frequently, and so they're like, okay, what's new? What do you have that's new? Well, I saw that last week. What's new? Whereas before, you know, they were rushing in and out to work, so they didn't really have time to think about that. They just came in and grabbed and went. But now they have more time on their hands, and they really want to dive into like, well, if this is working, how can I kick it up a notch? So I think from that perspective, it's a great opportunity to introduce new products. We've got to keep it new and keep it exciting. So that's another opportunity, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think we're seeing something very similar, right? So we're, you know, one of the things we noticed is we're seeing sales across all product categories go up. We're seeing new customers come in, and definitely seeing the medicinal conversations kind of coming to the forefront with you know, a good percentage of those customers, and new customers especially. But we over the last couple of months, we've been diving into the data a little bit more in our free time. But what we're still seeing is like, at least for the cookies customer, like consumption methods hold. So it's like you're kind of buying more of what you love. It's still kind of less likely to buy outside of the consumption method of your choice.
Right.
But we have seen new customers come in, and additional conversations come out of that too.
Interesting. Got it. And how do you decide, which products to carry? Is it mostly just what your customers tell you and what you see demand for, or do you try to hold to a certain set of categories or branding that fits, the Cookies or the People's Remedy brand?
Yeah,
we call.
Go ahead.
You want to go, Andrea?
Go ahead.
I'll go this time. So we talk about it like it's a science and an art, right? So we have our retail analytics that kind of show us what people are buying, customer repeat purchases, how much of our sales and margin are coming from different product categories. And it's all super important. We definitely use that in terms of our demand planning and the inventory that we're bringing in.
Yeah.
That art piece of it and what we're really lucky to have at Cookies are just like, people who are nuts for cannabis, and a company with the value of like wanting to continue to bring kind of niche farmers and give them a platform to get their products into more stores and really into more customers' hands, and Cookies customers' hands who we know will like fucking love it. So it's like, it's an art and a science, and we Bernard, this is something he's incredibly passionate about, thinks about it every day. And so, in addition to our family of brands, it's also kind of, what other brands do we want to bring in the fold, because we know they're doing something awesome. And even if it's like a small batch and we can't get it into all stores at all the same time, like we're going to get it into as many stores as we can. And then if we can like help grow that business in any small way, like we're all for it. So it's both art and science over here.
Makes sense. And you mentioned some of the demand forecasting tools and technology that you use. What are some of the most helpful tools that you've seen, or, analytics systems that you use? Just curious to hear any brands that people should be looking into.
Yeah, we broke Excel this summer, so
right.
we can't work in traditional spreadsheets models. So we've like had to move everything into Tableau, and really, again, it comes down to like the right people. So we hired this amazing demand planner over the summer, and she's wheeling and dealing every day and putting together these amazing like top down, bottom up demand plan models in Tableau, because we broke Excel. And it'll go everywhere from like, as we're entering a new state, like how many clones do we have to start with in order to get to where we think demand's going to go, 6 months ahead of time. So a muscle that we didn't have this time last year that we're building as quickly as we can.
What about you, Andrea?
I'm still kind of the Excel nerd of the family. So we're still using a combination of, for our distro side, we're using Distru. And I've been really happy with Distru. Obviously I've been happy with Meadow. I use that for the retail side, but now those two are going hand in hand, of course, because we are basically doing centralized distribution for all of our stores. And yeah, I come from, I have an MBA in my background, so I'm very much about, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your store. So I'm definitely, I know every single day down to the penny of what we need to hit to make different benchmarks. Like, okay, we sold this so we can survive. We did this so we can survive plus 5%.
Right.
So, I think it's important to know all those numbers back of your hand. So I try not to get too lost in, the tech of the tech. I try to keep it pretty simple. I know, with having, 4 stores that kind of mirror each other, it's, it can be complicated, but in a sense, it's only as complicated as I make it at the end of the day. So I try not to, also I have to be able to make the managers feel like they are involved without feeling overwhelmed. So I don't want to talk over anyone's head ever. I have to be able to, keep it simple for everyone in the organization to be on the same page. Otherwise, I'm running those reports just for me, and that doesn't do anything. So I feel like if I can't teach you in 10 minutes what my spreadsheet says, or teach you how to run XYZ report in Meadow and get the information that you really need out of it, I don't want to overwhelm the process, I guess. I want to keep it simple, and I want to combine that art and science that Crystal spoke to of, there is the science behind it, and I will handle the majority and get you the Excel spreadsheet. But again, listen to your heart, listen to your customers. And what's selling better than my report is going to tell you. keeping in mind that people also don't know what they don't know. So if you're only selling this and they're buying that because that's all you're offering them, then that's its own, catch 22. But, we smoke good weed, we dab good dabs. So we know good product, and we try to keep it, simple and keep it true to, what is good product. And that's what we want to keep on our shelves.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it gets more and more important as it continues to scale as well. On there's sort of regulatory constraints to inventory management as well. So the BCC allows for no more than 3% variance for your inventory at the retail level, which isn't very forgiving. What are some of your pro tips for inventory management and cycle counts? I've heard stores that do cycle counts every single day, just to make sure that they're exactly right on the counts. How do you both manage it?
Yeah, definitely. Cash is king and inventory is cash. So it's at the top of the list of things that have to, I tell all of them I try to scare my bud tenders to a certain extent. And I'm like, look, we are only selling this because of the rules that BCC has in place. I cannot protect you from going to jail if you sell it outside of those guidelines. Right. It's not 100% true, but it gets the job done so that they understand. I'm like, look, this is a federally illegal drug. And if you're not following the guidelines and taking the time, and they're like, oh my God, yes. And so they're reading the products back to the customer when they put them in the bag, and they're like, okay, you got the Skittles, 3.5 grams, you got this, that, and that. They're taking it to heart, because that's where it starts. I mean, I can have all the inventory procedures on the back end. Finding on the back end, it's too late. The product's gone. It's already out the door, sold incorrectly. So unless your bud tenders, when they are doing that point of sale, understand how important it is, that 3% can be, 10% or higher if you're not catching it at the exact time that it's happening. Or even having, sometimes if you have to have the security model like a Walmart, where you have to go and check, or Costco, I forget which one, check the receipt as they walk up the door. If that's what you have to do to get yourself up to par, it's what you have to do. Your customers will understand. They know they're walking out of there with something, super valuable and federally illegal. Like, they'll let you, do that double check. So I feel like it has to start at point of sale. And then on the back end, yes, we do our cycle counts, we do blind counts, and I have just put in place an actual inventory team that is separate than the folks who are seeing it every day, so they can come in with a blind set of eyes and do the counts that way. Balance. Yeah, exactly, because they're not as intimately involved in seeing it. So you do have to have that separation, and those separate teams, I feel, come in and just kind of give a different look than the ones that are touching it all day, every day.
Makes sense. Crystal?
Yeah, I think Andrea hit on all the best practices there, right? It's like you have to have the team in the store. Like you have to have an inventory manager. That inventory manager, like once you're at a certain volume, you've got to have inventory assistance. Yeah. Continuous cycle counts, weekly cycle counts, making sure end of the month that cycle counts on, but 100%, all the best practices. And then that's right. Let's shout out to David here too. Like we've had some of our stores on different POS systems, and it can be it can make inventory a headache if you're not on the right POS system. So, we're transitioning quite a few over to Meadow right now for that exact purpose, to just make the inventory manager's life easier, and to keep inventory on point, because it is mission critical. You got to do it. Got it.
Makes sense. I want to take some time to talk about social equity. Some municipalities like San Francisco, for instance, require retail stores to carry some social equity products. What are your takes on how you allocate certain percentages of your stores to social equity brands? What's your perspective on, the current regulatory laws around it? Is it effective? And, how can, I guess this is a third question looped into one big one, how can retailers and distributors work together to make sure that these equity brands get through all the way to the end customer?
Yeah, so this is the part I miss the most about our events, because this is where you would go out and meet folks and find out who's who. Not a lot of folks, I mean, partially because I'm out in Modesto, folks aren't just like swinging by and stopping and dropping off their products. You either have to know me or know the store and make an appointment and come out, because you're not driving, 80 miles out just on a whim, most likely. Right. I obviously I have, stood for and worked for social equity my entire time being here. So I won't reiterate, why I think it's important or how I think it's important. It only matters in the practical business model anyway. I can say whatever I want. If I don't have social equity on my shelf, doesn't matter. So as I mentioned before, right now, we've got about 14, 15 brands, social equity brands right now. And I've never given a number to it. it's like
Always
second
good,
nature to me. It's supposed to be there. It's just like any other, aspect of business. So, I would like to streamline that process a bit. I think I, would love to have some help kind of connecting more of the Bay Area brands to come out east. Hey, Nina. And so, but again, it's because of platforms like this that we are able to like see faces and be like, oh yeah, you want to help? Great, bring it, come on, and let's do it. Because like I said, it's been a very siloed year. So it's not even for a lack of reaching out, I think, for a lot of places. I think it's just a lack of like being in the same room at the same time, because that's just how we've always done this. So I have no, I'm open book. I'll leave, my contact information is probably posted all over. Andrea at peoplesremedy.com. Shoot me an email. I am more than happy to hook you up with our distribution manager who makes all, final purchasing decisions. And it's a no-brainer for me. It's been since day one. And I think it's super important to have that presence in the stores.
Makes sense. Crystal, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And one of the things that we're really trying to do is, again, dedicate that in-store presence to equity brands. So if you go into Burners on Haight, which is our store in San Francisco that we can't call cookies, so we call it Burners on Haight. Right. You will see kind of like front and center when you're walking in, like an equity category where we hold all of our equity brands. We try to keep it front and center. Like, I think what Andrea said too, like, we can't get enough. So again, anyone has any brands that they want to get on our shelves, like, please let us know. I'm getting ready to open kind of a superstore concept in Santa Ana, and that's going to be one of like the feature hero areas in the store is equity brands as well. It'll include Grandiflora, which is the equity brand in our family of brands that we have, and we want to continue to highlight those brands in our store as much as we can.
Got it. And what can a distributor like us do to surface more of these equity brands or help make it easier for you to procure more equity brands to support them?
Oh, sorry. Is that a question to us about what
either
a distribution company can do?
Yeah, exactly.
We do, obviously distribution is central to that's why we got our own distribution permit. It's so key and so important and so central. But it also enables us to take product directly from cultivators and manufacturers as well as other distributors. Between having 4 stores, there's always a little slice of the pie that we can move over to make room for a new brand. Always. So I never believe, I believe that there's never such thing as having too much. So if you bring it, we will try it and we will, we'll move forward. I don't know. It's just up to each distribution company to kind of figure out what they want their portfolio to look like. So none of the jurisdictions that we have permits in have a social equity program. They don't have social equity requirements. They don't use the word social equity. They don't know. They don't care. It's really unfortunate. So I've always felt, being in Modesto, Oakdale, and Patterson, Stanislaus County, that it is my moral obligation, duty, and right, and that for everything that I fought for up until this point, it's like, you don't have a social equity program, well, let me show you why you should, because these products 9 times out of 10 are the best ones, because these are the folks who have been doing it the longest and have been doing it from heart and passion and love of the plant, and not for $1. So I'm always there. Bring it.
Vincent, what do you think you could do? Like, what do you think you could do to help us retailers?
For us, we carry, a lot of social equity brands and female owned brands. And a lot of the times some of these businesses are really small and, regionally focused in their own little communities, and that's their customer base. And so for us, the easy move is to basically just offer them discounts. So we tend to give up to 10-20% discounts on distribution for these equity brands. And I think that helps a lot, because from your perspective as a retail operation, procuring product from a social equity brand when their average order sizes are really small, it typically doesn't make that much sense for a distributor to carry them from a financial standpoint, because there's minimum delivery fees, there's all these sort of minimum orders, and it's hard for them to give samples out as well because of limited inventory in a lot of instances. And so, the financial aspect is one that we can help with a lot. And then the other is really just helping them market too, because they're always looking to get into new stores, and, they have connections in their region and in their tight-knit niche community that they serve, but not elsewhere across the state. And so, a lot of them don't have as much funding as some of the bigger businesses that we might have. And so they can't get all the outreach that they can without having the network of a distributor like us. So those are the general areas. So I was just curious to hear, if there was anything that you both thought would be helpful in addition to that. But yeah, it sounds like just the more brands, the more selection, I think would go a long way.
Yeah. And I would say to that, as I was going back my earlier point, that I couldn't find websites on some of the brands that I was even trying to showcase, or logos. I think if you want to take the time to put together, some kind of a little spiel on why, like, people want to know where their dollar is going right now more than any other time. And if you can express that story in any little way, putting something inside the packaging, dropping a little something, we'll even make the copies for it. If you just put it together and give it to me on a thumb drive, like I'll print it out, I'll do whatever I need to do. I feel like that just hasn't happened yet. And I'm, it's on both, it's a relationship. It goes both ways. So I'm willing to do my part. If you bring me that product, it's great. We'll put it in the store. That's only half of the story, I think, because when the customer walks in, they have no idea that you're social equity, right? It's that we know as a retailer. So unless I have that story to tell, and people love to hear that. And we can be like, I can just tell my bud tenders, such and such. And then come in and talk to the bud tenders whenever you can. I think that goes for social equity or any brand really, but definitely for, brands, especially when you look like the bud tender, like there's just this automatic connection of like, I would smoke with you. You're awesome. And anytime, again, this goes for any brand, but when you can get that personality of the owner or get that one-on-one time, even if you're just sharing limited samples, you're sharing your story, you're sharing your time. Bud tenders appreciate that for sure, and they remember you. And so when they're getting asked on what product to push, again, I'm speaking specifically to social equity, but it works in the case of any brand. But those are the stories that people remember and that speaks to them, and then they can pass that on to the customer. So trying to make it come full circle.
That makes sense. Yeah, and sneak preview into what we're launching in about 2-3 weeks is a online marketplace. And so, in a similar way that, DoorDash presents Black owned restaurants and, right at the top, we're also going to be presenting, preferred social equity brands or female owned brands right at the top to give them that, spotlight and exposure. So keep a close eye out on that one, but we're really excited for it. And it's like, for us, we're a shipping company. We don't distribute and sell products as much as some of the other larger distributors do. And so this actually gives us a really good opportunity to be able to help generate that demand for certain brands that deserve it. Cool. And zooming back out a little bit, since we're coming up on time here. Last question, where can people find out more about your companies and receive the latest updates from your team?
Each one of our stores has a different Instagram handle. So we've got People's Remedy Oakdale, People's Remedy Patterson, People's Remedy Modesto, and regular People's Remedy. That's our flagship store. We do have a newsletter that has now finally been put out on a regular basis after a lot of work. And that's also the place where we highlight products. So it's the place where I'm trying to, at least have some kind of like, this is a social equity brand. But again, like I said, because of where I'm at, people don't even know what that means. So it's always going to be a challenge. They're more interested in just like, it's visual. They want to be like, oh, that's the owner and standing next to their product. Awesome. So, we want to do a better job of that. If we have to have a little spiel of what social equity is in our newsletter, maybe that's something that I can do as a retailer. But definitely we want to get the word out in a marketing, from a marketing standpoint, on behalf of other brands as well as ourselves. There's not, we can tell our story once or twice, 3 times, people get sick of it, but being able to share other stories, I think, is really critical.
Awesome. Crystal, where should we be able to find you?
Yeah, you can find us on our website, again, Instagram, all over the place there, Twitter. We feel incredibly grateful to be hiring both at our stores and at our headquarters. So go on LinkedIn, jobs are always posted there. Instagram is where we post jobs at the retail at our retail locations for the most part. And again, I know there was this awesome question that you guys asked about, like, what's our prediction for the next 5 years as it relates to cannabis retail? And I think Andrea was just speaking to it, and we kind of share that same value too. That I think we're going to see like the most inspiring, thought-provoking leaders that come out of the next decade come out of cannabis. And I think one of the reasons why is because of the shared value around diversity and inclusion. I think we have a huge opportunity here as we are scaling, and so many of us are scaling, to keep that at the forefront of everything that we're doing, so that we don't run into kind of the traditional glass ceilings and that you see in other industries. So, that's my half crazy prediction. Cannabis is going to be like the trailblazer as it relates to like making sure all people and wonderful ideas are included and shared.
Yeah, it's a fresh slate. We get to pick what happens at the end of the day. Andrew, what do you think is your crazy 5-year prediction in cannabis retail or the industry as a whole?
I think we're going to continue to be the industry that leads in the number of women and underrepresented minorities in management and owner positions, not just security guards and bud tenders. Those are all important roles, but without ownership and management and upper level positions, ultimately it's just show to me. So I think, we're going to continue to see diverse boards that have, women and African Americans. And I think it's an amazing opportunity. I think it's where we come from. I think it's where we'll continue to go. And, that's how we all got here, is on the backs of those folks. So I think that we have an opportunity to show the rest of the world that you can do this professionally and, and still be very profitable. And that when all those things combine, you can actually be even more successful and more profitable. So I think that we will continue to be the trailblazers, not just in our own industries, but internationally, I think all over the world. I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Andrea. This is such a pleasure. I love the conversation, and I learned a lot personally. So I hope the rest of you all did too.